You did the responsible thing, paid it off, and the score still moved the wrong way. I see this happen all the time, and I know exactly how frustrating it is to look at your phone, hit refresh on that banking app, and see a minus 15-point red arrow staring back at you just days after you wired thousands of dollars to clear your debt. You probably felt a massive wave of relief when you submitted that final payment. You cleared the balance, you eliminated the high interest, and you expected the financial system to reward you with a quick bump in your credit score. Instead, the algorithm slapped you on the wrist. It feels completely backwards. It feels like a punishment for good behaviour. The logical leap we all make is that if we do the right thing and eradicate our debt, our credit score will immediately go up, rewarding our financial virtue. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why that logic is fundamentally flawed, and how the banking algorithm actually calculates your worth. Before we break down the brutal math of the credit scoring system, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. Hitting that button is going to be the best return on investment for your time today if you want to optimize your cash flow and understand the mechanisms behind your money. Now, a huge part of the reason we get so angry when our score drops is because of the societal and historical context surrounding debt. We have been raised with this almost puritanical view of money. We listen to prevailing advice from figures who preach that debt is a moral failing and that paying it off is the ultimate act of financial virtue. Because of that narrative, we naturally conflate our overall financial health with our credit worthiness. We think our net worth and our cash flow dictate our score. But those two things are entirely separate universes. Being wealthy does not automatically make you a prime candidate in the eyes of a credit bureau. We mistakenly view the FICO score as a report card grading our financial morality. We assume that when the score goes up, we are succeeding at life, and when it goes down, we have done something terribly wrong. But banks do not care about your financial virtue. Banks do not reward morality. They reward predictable, profitable data streams. When you cleared out your credit card balance, you took away a data stream that the bank was using to measure your behavior. You changed the variables in their equation. The credit bureaus do not look at your bank account balance. They do not know how much money you have saved up for retirement, and they do not know what your investment portfolio looks like. They only see the highly specific, isolated relationship you have with borrowed money. When you pay off a debt entirely, you disrupt that relationship in a way the machine learning model does not always appreciate. To truly grasp why your score dropped, you have to understand what FICO actually stands for and what it was built to do. FICO is the Fair Isaac Corporation. They are a data analytics company that built a risk assessment algorithm for lenders. Its purpose is not to measure your wealth or your character. Its singular purpose is to measure the statistical probability that you will default on a loan within the next 24 months. It is entirely about risk mitigation for the lender. If you are paying off massive balances, you are clearly not a high default risk right now. But you are also suddenly acting in a way that falls outside the normal, predictable patterns of a profitable borrower. The system relies on you maintaining a certain level of active, measured debt. When you abruptly wipe the slate clean, the system gets confused, and the algorithm defaults to caution. That caution is exactly what causes your score to take a temporary hit. If you think dropping 10 or 15 points after doing the right thing is frustrating, wait until you see the hidden penalty that kicks in if you close that account. We are about to look at the exact mathematical formula the bureaus use, and I will show you why celebrating a zero balance might actually shrink your credit profile overnight. Most people completely misunderstand how utilization is calculated, and they end up accidentally erasing a decade of good credit history with one phone call to their bank. I have run these numbers extensively, and the way the denominator contracts when you pay off and close a card is honestly one of the most brutal traps in modern personal finance. Let us break down the actual math so you never fall into this algorithmic pitfall. To understand why a FICO score drops upon debt payoff, we must decouple net worth optimization from algorithmic scoring. The drop usually occurs due to one of two mathematical triggers. The first is what I call the denominator contraction. Credit utilization accounts for 30% of a FICO 8 score. The formula for utilization is simply the sum of your balances divided by the sum of your credit limits. Let us imagine a consumer with 3 credit cards. Card A has a $5,000 balance on a $5,000 limit. Card B has a $2,000 balance on a $5,000 limit. Card C has a $1,000 balance on a $5,000 limit. Before they pay anything off, their total balance is $8,000 and their total limit is $15,000. If we divide those, their overall utilization sits at roughly 53%. It is high, but the math is straightforward. The total limit is the denominator anchoring the entire calculation. Now, let us say this consumer decides they never want to be in debt again. They aggressively pay off the $5,000 on card A, and then they call the bank to close the account completely to remove the temptation. After the payoff and closure, their total balance is down to $3,000. That sounds great. But because card A is closed, its $5,000 limit is permanently erased from the denominator. Their total credit limit shrinks from $15,000 down to $10,000. Their new utilization is 30%. While 30 is better than 53, they just lost a massive chunk of their available credit buffer. Furthermore, FICO tracks the average age of accounts, which makes up 15% of your score. If card A was their oldest card, closing it is like deleting the first 10 years of your work history from your resume just because you did not like the job. It makes your track record look significantly shorter and less reliable to anyone reviewing it. But what if you pay off the card and smartly decide to keep it open? Sometimes your score will still drop. This brings us to the second mathematical trigger, known as the zero utilization penalty. If you pay all of your revolving credit card balances to absolute zero, meaning not a single penny reports on your statement, the algorithm actually triggers a penalty. FICO algorithms view a 0% utilization across all of your revolving accounts as a lack of data. They cannot evaluate how you are managing current debt if there is absolutely no current debt to observe. Statistically speaking, according to Fair Isaac Corporation data, a consumer with a 1% to 4% utilization ratio is actually slightly less likely to default on future obligations than a consumer sitting at a flat 0% ratio. Because of this statistical anomaly, the math penalizes the all-zero state. FICO will dock you roughly 10 to 20 points simply for not having a tiny balance report to the bureaus. Think of the zero utilization penalty like a driving record. Having a credit card but never letting a balance report is like having a driver's license but never actually driving a car. If you apply for auto insurance, the insurance company has no idea if you are inherently a safe driver or just someone who has not been behind the wheel in 5 years. They have zero current data on your reflexes or your habits. Lenders look at credit the exact same way. They strongly prefer the driver who commutes 5 miles a day in light traffic with 0 accidents. That daily driver represents the person with 1% utilization. The daily driver is proving their competence continuously. The person whose car never leaves the garage might be safe, but they are an unknown variable. And in the business of lending money, unknown variables represent unquantified risk. So, the algorithm drops your score slightly to account for the fact that you are currently resting in the garage. This is where most people stop doing the math, and it ends up costing them thousands of dollars in the long run. When they see their score drop after a payoff, they panic. They start carrying balances and paying massive interest charges because they mistakenly believe that paying the bank a fee is the only way to build credit. If you are sitting in an environment with credit card interest rates hovering around 24%, pausing your debt payoff to protect 15 FICO points is mathematical suicide. I'm going to show you the psychological trap that makes us do this and how to completely bypass it. Do not let an algorithm trick you into bleeding away your wealth. You should never, under any circumstances, pay retail interest rates just to buy a temporary credit score increase. The actual cost of that decision will destroy your cash flow faster than inflation. People make the wrong mathematical choice because they fall heavily victim to a concept known as Goodhart's law. Goodhart's law states that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Consumers routinely make the FICO score their absolute target in life, rather than targeting what actually matters, which is positive cash flow and total net worth. I like to explain it this way. Your high income is the water, and your net worth is the bucket holding it all. Your FICO score is merely the plumbing system. A good score just allows the water to move efficiently through the pipes if you need to access leverage. But if you are voluntarily paying 24% interest just to maintain that perfect score, your bucket has a massive hole in it. Having a flawless plumbing system does not matter at all if your bucket is empty. When you obsess over the score as the primary metric of success, you lose sight of the actual wealth-building process. When your score drops immediately after a major payoff, your brain experiences a very real dopamine crash. You put in the hard work, you sacrificed your discretionary income to clear the debt, and the negative reinforcement from the credit bureau stings. This is where the behavioral economics principle of loss aversion kicks in. Psychological studies show that the pain of losing 20 FICO points feels roughly twice as severe to us as the joy of saving $2,400 in annualized interest. Our brains are hardwired to react to the immediate perceived loss rather than the invisible future gain. This cognitive bias causes intelligent individuals to make highly irrational financial decisions. I have seen people take out completely unnecessary personal loans just to artificially improve their credit mix, or purposely carry a revolving balance because they want to appease the system. They let the psychological sting of a minor algorithmic adjustment dictate their reality, and they end up paying a steep loyalty tax to the banks. You have to realize that you are actively playing a signaling game against a highly advanced machine learning model. The bank wants to see that you are using their credit responsibly, primarily because active use generates interchange fees, or swipe fees, for them every time you buy something. They want you generating revenue, but they do not want you overextending yourself. If you carry maxed out debt, you signal high default risk, and they penalize you. If you pay it all off and literally lock the card in a heavy safe, keeping it at 0% utilization, you signal that you are an unprofitable and unpredictable customer. You are not generating swipe fees, and you are not proving your ongoing reliability. The algorithm wants to see a steady, controlled pulse. It is a very delicate balancing act between showing the bank that you need them just enough to use the product, but not so much that you are a liability to their balance sheet. There is also a very real hidden risk to this game, especially in a tight lending environment. Banks are highly protective of their capital reserves. They actively run automated algorithmic sweeps every single quarter to identify and close completely inactive accounts. They do this to reduce their total risk exposure on the books. If you pay off a credit card in full and then refuse to touch it for 6 to 12 months, the bank will often just close the account for you without asking. When they initiate that closure, it triggers the exact denominator contraction we talked about earlier, dropping your available credit and tanking your score against your will. You thought you were being safe by avoiding the card, but you inadvertently triggered the bank to sever the relationship entirely. You have to maintain algorithmic compliance to protect your credit history, but you have to do it without paying them a single cent in interest. Fortunately, there is a very strict protocol for exactly that. We are going to walk through the exact step-by-step protocol to optimize your score and bypass the zero utilization penalty without paying a dime in interest. But before we get to the specific methodology, you need a secure place to actually run your cash flow numbers and plan your payoff dates. This is exactly why I built CashClass. CashClass is the official Tom Talks Money web app, and it is the bridge between learning the math on this channel and actually executing it in your daily life. I designed it strictly with privacy in mind. There are absolutely no bank logins required. You simply upload your CSV bank statements directly to the web app, and it helps you visualize your cash flow without exposing your credentials to third-party data brokers. It also includes full access to my completely free Budgeting 101 course to get you started. If you want to stop guessing and start optimizing, click the link at the very top of the video description right now to start your 14-day free trial on the web. Now, let us look at the protocol. Step 1 of the Optimizer's protocol is implementing the AZEO strategy, which stands for All Zero Except One. To achieve the theoretical maximum utilization score without paying any interest, you need to manage your reporting balances carefully. You will systematically pay down all of your active credit cards to a flat $0, except for one single card. On that one chosen card, you are going to allow a tiny micro balance to post to the monthly statement. I am talking about $10 to $20, which should equate to roughly 1 or 2% of that specific card's credit limit. By doing this, you are explicitly signaling to the FICO algorithm that you are actively using your revolving credit, which completely avoids the zero utilization penalty we discussed. At the same time, because the balance is so incredibly low, your aggregate total utilization across all accounts remains negligible. You get the benefit of active data reporting without the drag of heavy debt dragging down the denominator. Step 2 is executing statement date arbitrage. This is where most people get confused, so pay close attention to the dates on your banking app. You must understand the difference between the statement date and the due date. The statement date is the specific day the bank takes a snapshot of your account and reports that balance to the credit bureaus. The due date, which comes several weeks later, is when you must actually hand over the cash to avoid paying interest. The protocol is simple. You pay your chosen card down to that 1% micro balance exactly 2 days before the statement date. That ensures the 1% is what gets reported to FICO. Then, you simply pay off that remaining 1% balance entirely before the actual due date arrives. The final result of this arbitrage is that you pay absolutely 0% in interest to the bank, but the credit bureaus record a perfectly optimized 1% utilization on your profile. It is the ultimate algorithmic loophole. Step 3 is what I call the sock drawer automation. For the credit cards you have paid off and no longer want to actively carry in your wallet, do not close them. Keep that denominator large to dilute any future utilization. Instead, apply a single, highly predictable recurring subscription to the card, like a $3 cloud storage fee or a $10 Spotify account. Set that specific card to auto-pay the statement balance in full every single month from your checking account, and then physically place the plastic card in a drawer. You have now automated your algorithmic compliance and immunized that account against any bank-initiated closure sweeps. Step 4 is the credit tier triage. You need to stop agonizing over minor point fluctuations if you are already sitting in the top tier. In modern mortgage and auto lending, a 760 FICO score gets the exact same prime interest rate as a perfect 850. Once you cross that 760 threshold, any additional points are purely ego metrics. Mastering these algorithms requires separating your emotions from the stark mathematical reality of the financial system. We are not aiming for moral perfection. We are aiming for maximum cash flow retention. If you found this breakdown valuable and you want to support the deep dive research we do here, consider clicking the join button below the video to become a member of the Optimizers. Channel members help keep this content highly analytical and independent. Plus, you get priority replies from me in the comments section when you are working through your own specific math, along with some custom sketch badges that show up next to your name. It is a small way to support the channel directly, and it ensures we can keep exploring the realities of the banking system without watering down the numbers. I appreciate everyone who has already joined. Before you head out, I want to gather some data from the community for a little peer review. Head down to the comments and let me know the biggest temporary score drop you have ever seen right after paying off a large chunk of debt. Did you panic and change your strategy? Or did you hold the line until the algorithm corrected itself? Seeing those real-world numbers helps everyone else realise they are not alone in dealing with these frustrating algorithmic quirks. Remember, do not let a machine dictate your peace of mind, and never pay retail interest just to buy a few temporary credit points. Keep your utilisation low, keep your oldest accounts open, and protect your cash flow at all costs. I will see you in the next breakdown.